Hello friends, in this episode we're discussing new incidents, high-profile cases in Gdynia, Czestochowa and in Lesser Poland. As you can imagine, all of them involve Ukrainians. We'll recall the lessons of the Warsaw Uprising, quote Boguslaw Linda, and even talk about boomerangs and sports. Friends, we have a lot of topics today. Please watch the video until the end, give it a like and subscribe to the channel right now. Friends, huge thanks to everyone who takes just 2 seconds for these simple actions. A like to support aerodynamics, to support the working class. Thank you. Yes, be sure to write in the comments to help promote the video. Ball guy, why aren't you at the beach? Why aren't you at the front? And any other questions you have for me. The main requirement is the comment must be at least 7 words. Well, let's get down to business. Very interesting stories are coming from Poland, specifically from the glorious city of Gdynia. An elderly local citizen saw a Ukrainian woman on the street. What was she doing? She had the audacity to send a voice message in her native language. And the man decided to express his disagreement with this outrageous act. So he did it in the most absurd way possible, hitting her on the head twice with some heavy object. Friends, what I want to say is this. First of all, the Polish police are officially silent for now, like a partisan under interrogation. There are no confirmations or denials at the moment. No, nothing specifically from the police. But the victim herself claims that she walked this road to work for 5 years and saw this man regularly. And then suddenly trauma care, stitches on her head, and deep thoughts about European hospitality. Yes, and secondly, the story unfortunately is becoming all too familiar. For a long time we were told about the United European family. Yes. However, as you can see, as soon as the economic foundation starts to crack, that thin layer of civilization just instantly peels away. But underneath it, we see the good old everyday chauvinism. And then an old man in Gdynia picks up something heavy and starts enforcing language policy right on the sidewalk. In short, quite a picture. The contradictions in prosperous Europe haven't gone anywhere, and in these tense times, they come out in the most obvious ways. Let's see how it all ends. Of course, we wish the girl strength. Both physical and mental strength, because, well, as for the old man, let him serve 5 years behind bars. Maybe he'll learn something. We hope the police find him as soon as possible. Moving on. Czestochowa. We're hearing news of about the same kind. A local woman, 48 years old, a grown woman, decided to take a taxi and got into a conflict with the Ukrainian driver. The Ukrainian is 35 years old. Let's just watch this video. It's literally 1 minute long.
Well, you have to sit like that. All right, come to mommy. Come on. To mommy, she's coming to us. Do you speak Polish? Yes. At which pizza place would you, Mr. Opanowi, stop there? Because I have to... No. I'm entering Biała Akcja, where you are stopped. They stopped me. Why? I don't know. I don't have time. You don't fucking have it? Are you fucking for the devil? Yeah, fucking for the devil? Now I'll believe you. Did you like it?
Well guys, you see, the conflict itself is of course pretty ridiculous, to put it mildly. The lady demanded to urgently stop at a store, but that wasn't part of the planned route. The driver, acting within the instructions and common sense, politely refused. He had the right to do so. As you can see, the reaction followed immediately. She resorted to her tried and true arsenal, refined language, calling him a Ukrainian bitch, a whore, and even punched the driver in the back of the head. And that's basically how the ride ended. The driver hit the brakes and the hot-tempered lady left the vehicle. So what do we have here, friends? It's the same thing. Everyday service meets a tense social atmosphere. When a man or woman gets frustrated over something trivial, the cultural veneer disappears instantly. The most basic xenophobic reaction comes out. Well, the Czestochowa police are conducting an investigation. Well, write in the comments what kind of punishment you would give to a lady like that. Well, I think 25,000 zlotys would be enough, in my opinion. So the trend is obvious. Next, friends, we have another piece of news. This one comes from Lesser Poland. how the law enforcement system works when citizens cross the line due to national hostility. We won't even talk about the role of right-wing parties in this because we're already giving those idiots too much attention. Here's what happened. A local citizen, 46 years old, decided that he could freely and publicly shout insults based on nationality. Well, of course, he thinks he has the right to do whatever he wants at home. If you want, you can take a dump in your own stairwell, do whatever you want. So, basically, he started shouting all sorts of things and at the same time making direct threats and promises of violence against two citizens of Ukraine. This happened at the end of July in Krakow County. Well, actually, the victims didn't want to just put up with it. The next day, they went straight to the police with an official statement. I think they did the right thing. He realized things were getting serious. The so-called hero, 46 years old, I repeat, took off from the Lesser Poland voivodeship and moved somewhere to Greater Poland. That's a few hundred kilometers away. He thought he could hide and be forgotten, but the Lesser Poland officers did a great job. Big thumbs up. On July 29, the citizen was apprehended right at his temporary hiding place, packed up and taken back. First went to the district commandant's office in Skawina for initial investigation, then to the district prosecutor's office. In Wieliczka, where his actions will now be dealt with under the criminal code. Well, I think that's right. No one has the right to walk the streets and shout, "I'll kill you, you curva," and something else. Neither a Pole, Ukrainian, nor Filipino has that right, I believe. Comment if you disagree. Want to argue about it? Well, in short, from the point of view of the historical process, everything is extremely clear. When overall social tension increases in society, let's not repeat that it's the fault of right-wing parties. Everyday chauvinism becomes just the easiest way for certain individuals to vent the pain they've accumulated over the years. It starts with everyday little things. You have to cut in line, like in Wrocław, you have to take out your aggression, and people instantly slip into criminal behavior. But the laws of society and physics are relentless. For violating public order, let's hope that an encounter with the investigative team and the prosecutor inevitably follows. We're watching the events unfold. Let's see how it all ends. Look, our next point, friends, is definitely in the comments right now. You can write it yourself or you can read it. You'll see that some uniquely gifted citizens will be pushing this boomerang, this karmic justice idea. Look, let's analyze this from the point of view of common sense. I'm originally from the Luhansk region myself. I was born there, grew up and lived in Kharkiv until I was 27. I spoke Russian. And you know what, friends? I never experienced anything like a language inquisition at all. I lived, studied, and communicated peacefully, just like millions of my fellow countrymen, and nobody cared about it. And now, my dear alternatively gifted ones, those who write to me about the boomerang, what do you think came first here, the cause or the effect? Where did this sharp dislike of the Russian language come from in society? And it didn't come out of thin air, not from some abstract fantasies. Let me remind you, the turning point came in 2014 when armed citizens from a neighboring state from the Russian Federation entered the territory of Ukraine with automatic weapons under Russian flags with slogans about protecting the Russian-speaking population. By the way, I didn't ask for that. A perfectly natural public reaction follows. From the point of view of psychology and historical process, the Russian language in people's eyes instantly became associated not with Pushkin, not with Dostoevsky, not with Belevin, but with military intervention, with tanks, and with destroyed cities. And having become a marker of external threat, the language inevitably causes rejection among those whose homes were invaded with weapons. Yes. So all these profound arguments about the boomerang are an attempt to turn cause and effect upside down. The dislike was not born because of the language itself, but because of those who used it as a pretext to bring in troops and destroy cities and lives. All right, that's too complicated a thought. I'm afraid you won't understand, dear bots, dear not so dear Russians, whoever else is watching me and bringing up the boomerang. So what else caught my attention? Friends, today is the anniversary of the Warsaw Uprising. Let's take a look. I came across an interesting video on TikTok. Just 46 seconds.
Excuse me, everyone. One quick question. Tomorrow marks the anniversary of Warsaw, September 1st. You chose our W. Will you stop, sir?
I will stop to pay tribute to the lives needlessly lost, the people of Warsaw and the city of Warsaw needlessly destroyed. Because in my opinion, from a strategic point of view and so on, the uprising had only a symbolic dimension and no military significance. The gentlemen in London were sitting with their cognac and so on, planning to take power before the great Russian onslaught, which was absolutely impossible, pointless, but it had to be done.
Thanks for the history lecture and detailed answer. Have a good day, friends.
Let's make a small historical digression because I also asked myself this question. As much as I have read about the history of the Warsaw Uprising, I had a question. Was there any military or political sense in the Warsaw Uprising of 1944 at all? Just from the point of view of materialism and simple logic, as they say, everyone looks out for themselves, everyone answers for themselves. And from the point of view of the Polish government in London and the leadership of the Home Army, the point was quite specific, purely political. They had to seize the capital before the Red Army arrived to claim power and confront the Soviet Union with a fait accompli. The main bet was that the German garrison would flee and the Soviet troops under the command of Marshal Rokossovsky would break into the city. And here we are, looking good, saying, "So why did you come? We've already liberated the city, now talk to us." But as you can see, military reality always harshly punishes such political adventurism. Because any serious military operation requires deep operational planning, uninterrupted supply, and most importantly, clear coordination with advancing allied units. None of this was done. Yes, there were underground units, poorly armed, and they were basically thrown into the assault on a prepared and fortified Wehrmacht defense stronghold. The Nazis then launched a brutal operation. The footage is shocking. I won't show it since YouTube will flag me with another yellow monetization warning. There were tanks, heavy artillery, and aircraft. And of course, the result was catastrophic. As you know, about 200,000 civilians were killed. Warsaw was literally wiped off the face of the earth, and the military and political goals of the uprising's leadership obviously completely failed. But it didn't matter, they just drank less champagne in London. Trying to pursue narrow political goals at the cost of hundreds of thousands of your own citizens' lives without the slightest consideration for the military situation is not a brilliant plan. It's pure adventurism, which turned into a national tragedy and is still remembered to this day. By the way, friends, now is the perfect time to check if you've liked this video. Yes, because now we're giving the floor to the legend of Polish cinema, Mr. Bogusław Linda. What did Putin say?
Not necessarily. I think it was much simpler, just as we hear from people who survived the Warsaw Uprising. And they say that we were so pissed off at the Germans for so many years, for destroying us everywhere, that we would have gone for it anyway. Even if it meant dying, just to get even 5 minutes of being free, damn it. And I think it was the same during the January uprising when there was supposed to be another draft. They were supposed to be sent to Siberia. So they said, screw it, I'll go to the forest, whatever, I'll fight. It's simpler. The rest is ideology refined by politicians. There are a lot of politicians. It's much simpler. To want to live, if only for a minute, to want a chance at even a minute of normalcy. Okay, it's worth fighting for.
No one understood what Mr. Boguslav was saying. I'll translate briefly. People were so embittered, so enraged at those Germans that they went to fight just to feel free for at least 5 minutes. They went even to die just to be free for a while. But from Linda's point of view, the motive of an ordinary participant was dead simple. When the alternative is either endless suppression, a concentration camp, or exile, a person says to himself, to hell with it all, I'll at least go shoot one German, it'll make it easier for me to die. It was about a simple human desire to, before dying, at least for a moment, taste normalcy and freedom. So, you know, friends, to sum up Linda, for politicians it was a calculated gamble that failed. But for the ordinary guys on the streets of Warsaw, it was a completely understandable, emotionally driven impulse of people who had been pushed to the edge. Well, that's one opinion. Nevertheless, we too will be silent for a moment today. Yes, well, by the time of this broadcast, the sirens in Warsaw, and I think all over Poland, will have already sounded. Yes, we pay tribute, as they say in Polish, to the victims of the Warsaw Uprising. What else caught my attention, friends? We are receiving excellent news from the world of sports. The Polish national volleyball team reached the Nations League finals by beating Slovenia 3-0. We sincerely congratulate the Polish athletes and fans on this excellent result with no hidden agenda. It was a beautiful game and a well-deserved victory. Yes, but we can't help but take a jab at certain people here. When the Ukrainian national team lost to the Poles in the quarterfinals, a whole crowd of experts flooded the online comments, writing all sorts of especially vile abuse about Ukrainian volleyball players, fans, and just ordinary Ukrainians. Well, you probably know what I mean. Petty gloating, filth, plain rudeness, insults, calling them banderites. Let me explain the difference between us and those certain individuals, whether they're Polish or from anywhere else in the world, who allow themselves to write such nasty things. And the difference is fundamental. Respect for your opponent, for sports, and for basic human ethics is a sign of a healthy, civilized society. A true fan knows how to acknowledge someone else's success, respect those who fought bravely but lost, and be happy for the strongest. But bitterness, xenophobia, and schadenfreude are always signs of deep inner deficiency and a complete lack of culture, so I choose common sense and sportsmanship. And as for those who like to write nasty things, we condemn them, and we won't be friends with people like that. So tomorrow we'll be watching the final at 1:30 p.m. Poland time. Yes, that's right. The news has come. It's going to be a volleyball match between the USA and Poland. This is all happening in China, so, well, I don't think any of us are watching from China right now. Yes, friends, you can comment under the video. Denchik watched the video from Belgium, from Brussels, from Scholar, from Calabria. Where are you watching my videos from? I love geography. I'll personally like every city. So my like still charges the Pobot card, and for 2 months brings love, luck, and financial success. Yeah, that's basically it. Thank you so much for your attention. Shout out to the working class. Turners, millers, mechanics, warehouse workers, medical workers, truck drivers. The guys have their hands full. They listen to the videos all the way to the end. That's all. Be careful at work. That's it for now. See you next time. Bye.